All right, did I do it? Okay, all right, so we are recording. My name is Sarah Jo Poff. I started Healthy Families for God about many years ago, and it just came out of a passion for sharing natural health things. We really just experienced some things that God worked in our life to really just be so grateful to see things from a totally new perspective and to have a new chance at life and our health. And we struggled for a while, and so we had better health, but we were really struggling with our finances. And sometimes it's hard to have better health when you're really struggling with finances. So God had been working on me with that for a while, but I am a really stubborn person. And I just really had a strong bias about direct marketing. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you guys. But I just first want to share a little bit more of my story, just to give you a little bit of background. This is our family in 2015. My oldest was at college, so he's not in this picture. My oldest he just turned 22. Yeah. And so we have a large family, and that's not very inexpensive to live that way. But we just really just loved, I loved these babies and loved having these babies and homeschooling them and everything, but it was a struggle. So this is in 2015 when we by just a miracle of God, we were able to buy a house. We knew that we had to just go really small because we were living really, really tight. My husband works construction, or he did, and that can really change. Some weeks there's no work, and some weeks there's a ton. And some of the time when there was slow work and things like that, he'd even deliver pizzas. He was working 60 hours a week sometimes just to pay. We've always lived in small housing and never had vehicle loans or anything like that. So just, getting our groceries and paying the bills was just such a struggle for us. And we lived like that for about 10 years. When the housing market here in Minnesota crashed, things got really hard for his job. Anyway, it took us 10 years of living like that for me to finally go, something's got to change. This is just a couple of examples from 2015. If we had those socks then, those holes were not big enough to throw them away. So we would tell the kids to keep those socks for a little bit longer. Because buying socks for 8 people at a time or however you want to do it, just even that just was so much for us sometimes. And so we just scrimped by. This picture is the vehicle that we thankfully just replaced. We were driving without a dashboard motor working, so the speedometer didn't work, the gas gauge didn't work. It was kind of like, we don't know how much gas we have, so we're just going to fill it up before we leave every time, because we just have no idea where we're at with gas. And so we've just seen a lot of different experiences, and we've always tried to make the best of it. We've received a lot of help and funding and things like that, but it was really hard because for me, I couldn't go to work because we had so many kids that daycare would have just been too expensive. It was difficult to figure out how to work things. We just struggled for a long time. Things were great before 10 years, and then we just crashed for 10 years, and we just weren't sure how to get out of it. So in 2015, I was already a Young Living member, and our upline leaders did a big launch about some resources they were going to offer to help us share Young Living. And that was just a really defining moment for me. It was a moment where God was really showing me that I needed to take this path and I needed to do something to help my family out. Things were hard. I mean, time-wise for me, my youngest was just a baby and he was still nursing constantly. I was homeschooling the other kiddos. I was finishing school for my naturopathy doctor degree, and I had clients. And so, but I knew that I had to do something. I had to do something more. So I did. I dove into it. This is what my commissions check looked like in November 2015. I had already been kind of not really sharing Young Living really, I had just kind of been sharing it a little bit here and there when people would ask, but my bias about network marketing was so strong that I really didn't like to say much, even though I knew that these Young Living oils that we were using and these other Young Living products were so amazing. But I kind of let my bias stop me from helping people by sharing about them. So in November of 2015, it was nice. It was helping us out a little bit. I was getting a few $100 a month, you know, and that was all right. But obviously our situation was a little bit tougher. I needed more. So you can see when I decided that I was going to really start getting over my bias and sharing Young Living and how it had helped my family, how much of a difference it made in 1 year and then in 2 years. And of course, I have to say that not everybody's results are the same. And I have to say that, you know, there's an income disclosure statement that we have to, that we're obligated to do to talk about. This is just my experience and how it took me. I had no idea that in 2 years, I would be retiring my husband and paying all the bills myself. And so it's just something that can happen. So when we're considering something that we can do to help our family out, whether it's just to pay for supplements and essential oils and things for ourselves, or for more than that, to help pay some bills or pay for a vacation or whatever it might be for somebody, you know, we look at some things that we can do from home. So why Young Living? There are a lot of companies out there. Young Living has been around the longest as far as essential oils go. They have over 20 years in the industry. They are still experiencing a 30% growth rate, which is basically unheard of for a network marketing company that's been in business for over 20 years. Every time the Direct Sales Association has meetings and things like that, everybody's blown away by the numbers of the percentage of growth that Young Living is still experiencing 20 plus years into the industry. So it's incredible. And that's the US stats. In other countries right now, Canada, Mexico, things like that, their percentages are much higher even. Young Living's integrity has really astounded me. I didn't know it was that way in the beginning when I first started. I am just continuously more and more impressed by their integrity and their transparency. Everybody can go to their farms and just really see how it's done themselves. They don't have to, you don't have to take their word for it that they're growing these oils or these plants and that they're distilling them or that they're testing them. You can go and see for it yourself. I've talked to the scientist that works at the lab, at some of their labs. You know, we've been to the farm, the labs, things like that. Their quality, everything that they do is completely unprecedented. Everybody's trying to copy what they're doing. Nobody can because nobody else owns their own farms. They have the largest variety of natural health products because it's not just essential oils, it's body care products, it's natural nutritional supplements, it's nutritional drinks, it's nutritional products, it's makeup now, it's so much more. And here's one thing that is really important. If we're looking at investing our time into something that we can share to help our family out with income or whatever it might be, we want to look at having something that's consumables. I was at a 31 party yesterday and I like those bags, but how many bags do you really need? You know what I mean? We want to look at something that is consumables because that gives us a huge advantage. That gives us the advantage of not having to sell. We get to just share and help people. And then once they find these products and they see that they're helping change their lives, they're consumable products. So they're going to run out. That's not going to happen with, you know, 31 bags or LuLaRoe leggings, as much as I love those products. So it's really nice to have something that's consumables because that requires less selling. We don't have this pressure to sell and constantly find new customers. This is Young Living's mission statement. Their core values revolve around these three things: wellness, purpose, and abundance. These are words that have become ingrained in my brain because every year I see more and more how these 3 words are truly at the heart of this company and how it really does happen, how this mission statement really does come to be. We join Young Living generally because we want better wellness. And we get that, and we get testimonies all of the time in our team's group about how you know, people's lives are really, their health and everything, and they're experiencing so many amazing things. And then we find purpose in sharing these things with others and helping them improve their life, improve their mental health, improve their emotional health, improve their physical health, things like that. Or just getting rid of the toxins in their home and things like that too. And then, and for some of us, when we find that purpose, we also find abundance. We also find some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. We get to pay for our health products to keep our family healthy. And that's what a lot of people start this with. I would probably guess that around 80% of people who join Young Living join it with no intention of selling it, because we don't want to sell. We don't like the idea of selling. But we decide that we can't keep quiet about it because it's helping us out so much. And at the same time, why not if it means we're going to get to pay for our products that are keeping our family healthy? And I can't think of a better goal than to say, you know what, I want to have friends who care about you enough to say, I want to support you in this and help you, you know, keep your family healthy, and I can keep my family healthy too. There's no certification or education required for this. You don't have to have a degree in anything. You don't have to be an aromatherapist. And in some ways, that's actually discouraged because we don't want other people to feel like, in order to share, that they have to be an aromatherapist also, for one thing. For another thing, we don't want to be in the market to diagnose or prescribe things, because that's not what this is for. We don't want to be promoting, you know, those kinds of things. We just want to help people, and we just want to keep it simple. And so that's something that we just need to know what we've found and what we've experienced for ourselves, and just share that, and that's it. So yeah, I talk about that a lot on some of my pages and stuff. There are no obligations. If you start and you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you don't have to. There's no quotas, there's no, you know, minimum sales things or anything like that. There's nothing like that. Okay, because it's one of the core missions of Young Living, purpose does come in this. There's such a sense of purpose in it that I just want everybody to experience that for themselves. This is one of my favorite things that's come about this, is having more income to donate or to help others. There's a human trafficking organization that a portion of my check goes to automatically before it even comes to my bank account, that I just love supporting. I've heard them speak at a lot of the events, and I've talked to them at the events, and I love what they're doing. And when I see the amount of money that I'm able to give to them because as my Young Living check goes up, I feel so glad that I can help them. And there's been so many situations where I just hate to think of what would have happened if I didn't have that money to be able to do that. Even recently, we have a little kitty, and we live on a farm, so animal deaths, you know, they happen, but this kitty is really special to our family, and the amount of money that it was going to take to save his life from a congenital defect was extremely high. A year ago, 2 years ago, there was no way I'd even be able to consider doing that, and we would have been faced with putting him down, but we didn't need to because I had it from Young Living. So there's just Mary Young. She is the founder, Gary Young's wife. She says money in the hands of good people does good things. There's no overhead with Young Living. You don't have to keep products in stock. And in fact, you don't need to, and you shouldn't. It's way easier not to. And people, it's better to just get directly from the company anyway. So you don't have to keep products in stock or anything like that too. You don't have to spend $1,000 or whatever on products and to sell those or anything like that. The only startup is $160, which is your kit, your products. You use them for yourselves. And we promote educating, not selling them. People need these. People need these oils. They need these products. That's just the way it is. It's an inevitable part of a healthy lifestyle. And so all we're doing is educating people on a healthy lifestyle and how these products have helped us. And that's it. Whatever happens with that happens. You know what I mean? You work at your own pace. If you want to really go after it like I did to really help out your family and stuff like that, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. Financial freedom and time freedom is something that can happen. It's happened for us, and it's my passion to help that happen for other people too. There's no income ceiling with Young Living because you get what you work at. And so, you know, like in another job, I wouldn't have been able to multiply my income that much. So are you guys seeing the screens that I'm sharing? Is it working? I forgot to ask that in the beginning. Okay, thanks. Did somebody say no? Katie, you said it's sharing, right? Okay, thank you. Phew, I forgot to check that. So yeah, I don't know what other job, you know, I worked other jobs before I had a bunch of kids, and there was, I got, when I would get a $2 an hour pay raise, I was so excited. So, oh, is it gonna show up my messages? Oh, willable income is another benefit of having a Young Living income. So right now, my family will receive my income every single month. If something were to happen to me, it goes to them. There's a little bit of paperwork that goes with that, but they would be taken care of. I set my own hours. You know, I work when it works for my family and our schedule. And travel is a great thing. I didn't really think I liked travel until I started doing this. Traveling has been awesome now. I see why people say they like to travel. I've won 1, 2, 3, 4 free trips in the last 2 years. 2 of them I'll be going on this year. So, and then my favorite part is friendships. Some of my best friends I have because of Young Living. There were people I had no idea who they were until Young Living, and they joined my team. So that's fun. All right, here's a couple of things I want to share with you guys. Why not to have a Young Living income? Why not to go after this? Doubts. If you're doubts or fear of criticism, fear of rejection, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, there's going to be criticism. There's going to be people saying no. And some people maybe won't say it in a nice way. And so it requires a lot of personal growth to do this. In fact, that is pretty much the only requirement of this, is really wanting to go after personal growth and really expecting yourself to grow more as a person, doing the things, reading books, attending or watching videos or things like that that help you grow as a person. Because that's really what it takes in this. I was reading an article, somebody was talking about this big thing that's going around, how they're saying chiropractic care is actually just this huge scam. Chiropractic care has changed my life. I can't imagine that it's getting criticism, but everything gets criticism. Everything gets criticism. And Young Living is not immune to that. It will, there are a lot of critics out there. There's critics out there, you know, for a lot of the natural health things that I do. And so if you're the kind of person that really tends to shy away from that, you know, I just want to let you know ahead of time that's going to happen. It's probably going to happen. And that's okay. I've learned to work through it, as a lot of us have that are growing successful businesses with Young Living. And like the last thing on here says, it's not like it just happens. It really does require work and effort. You're your own boss. And so if you're not good at making yourself work or making yourself set aside hours to spend working on this, it won't happen. This is the average monthly incomes for each level of the ranks. And so gosh, I gotta figure out how to turn that off. So, you know, most people start out, you know, really just kind of, star is pretty easy to get to. Senior star takes a little bit of work. Executive takes more work. Silver is kind of where the rubber meets the road. People who made it to silver, you know, they put in some effort. And then beyond that, those are the people who really stay committed. And it does take commitment. It takes perseverance too. So, and even if something like that took, say it took 5 years, say it took 10 years, would it be worth it for you to just slowly dabble or pursue it right now so that in 10 years you're set, you're totally taken care of? And this information can be found by just going online and looking up Young Living Income Disclosure Statement. All right, so what do you have to do? Well, you have to be a wholesale member, first of all. Some of you are, some of you aren't. Like I said, that's, you know, the $160 kit, you're a wholesale member. That's all that is required to be a wholesale member. Wholesale members that are also known as independent distributors. I personally prefer just wholesale member because we just want to focus on sharing and not necessarily selling. One of the things required is really to just be a product of the product. We want you to have your own experiences with the products that you go, you know what, this has really impacted our lives, so that you can share that with others, because we don't want people promoting things that they haven't used. We don't want people promoting things that they haven't really seen add value to their life. Oops, I don't know how I did that. In the beginning, it's recommended to devote 6 to 10 hours a week to this. Obviously, starting out would be more like 6 hours. And sometimes it's hard to, we think, well, like, where am I going to get that time? Well, if you could budget out an hour of time each day, or like 3 hours one day and 3 hours another day, would you be able to do that? Some people, it just takes a little bit of reworking. Look at your schedule. Where is there maybe an hour here that you kind of just maybe had just something you were watching that you really don't need to watch and doesn't add value to your life or something. And that 6 to 10 hours is going to be sharing Young Living. So usually half of that is going to be maybe doing a class. And we'll get into that, so don't be scared by the term class, like you have to be a teacher. And some of it would be personal growth, because like I said, personal growth is a huge part of this. And then just connecting with people. Connecting with people is a big thing, because this is about relationships first and foremost. There's a book called Game Plan by Sarah Harnish. You can buy it on Amazon. Our team is doing a boot camp with it starting March to walk through it together. It is the best book for growing a Young Living business, even just sharing it. Everything you would need to know basically for in the beginning, all the way up to silver rank, is in that book. When I get people asking me questions about sharing it, the answers are really just pretty much all in that book. It's one of those that we read and reread and reread and refer back to all of the time. And that book has an entire script that you can use, so you don't have to necessarily just know all this stuff to share it and to teach a class and things like that. It has information about willable income. It has the income disclosure statement. It has a lot of the stuff we're talking about tonight, but much more in depth. So basically what it requires is you share, you educate, and you repeat, and that's all that it is. And stay committed. Carving out time to really focus on this when you're self-employed is sometimes where the rubber meets the road and where the discipline comes in, and that's the deciding factor. Some of us really find it helpful to get a planner and take and carve out those days, those times on the schedule, and say, I'm going to do this many hours this day and this much time on this day. Some of our leaders, they often talk about how if you work this as a hobby, you'll get hobby income. And if you work this as a business, you'll get business income. You can do it either way, but how you do it depends on where you end up here with the incomes. So these are some of the resources that are available, not necessarily to everybody. Those of you who are already an Oily Friends member know that we have Vital 180 as our leaders. They have phenomenal resources that are free to people on their downline, which includes us on the Oily Friends team. Vital 180's launch is what really kicked me into gear with this. They launched this website full of free PowerPoint presentations, free infographics to share, all of these amazing resources to be able to do things. So if you were going to do a class, all you need to do is pick from one of the classes that they have in their business in a box thing and download it and put it up on your computer or whatever, however you're going to do it. And then just get the script out from the game plan book or something, or just share your personal experiences as you're going through the slides. Just share from your heart what you've experienced with the oils. And then just leave it up to people. You don't have to decide for them. You don't have to convince them of anything. It's just to educate them and teach them. There's also Young Living University right in your virtual office for all Young Living members. We have the weekly product education in Oily Friends group that we're talking about products and how they help in an effort to just really inform you guys of the products. So even if they're ones you haven't used yet, you'll know a little bit more about them. So if somebody comes up to you and they say, I have a need for this, then you could go, oh, well, we saw a video on that, and I remember what product would really be something you'd want to consider for that. Because people are going to be buying products for their health. And so with direct marketing, when they do that, they do it while forging relationships where they can keep coming back and having that support and that help from people. And so that's the advantage of network marketing versus just going to the store and buying something. Because I have a website where people can just order products from, and they just go through the website store and order the products and they're shipped to them, and that's it. But with direct marketing, you've got a team and you've got people who are there to support you and can keep you educated and help you along. So that's part of our Oily Friends team. And then Faithful Growers is our group for those who want more help sharing Young Living. This was one of my favorite free trips. Last April, Young Living took me and my husband and our little guy on a cruise to Honduras and Belize, totally paid for, just for working hard, just for sharing with passion. It was unbelievable. This is, so those of you who know Dawn is one of my besties, only because of Young Living. I had no idea who she was before Young Living. She lives in a completely different state. I love the heck out of her. And the only hard part is being states away from her because we have so much fun when we're together. Young Living gives you all expense paid trips for every rank that you hit from silver and up. This was the silver retreat that we were both on. That one took us to the farm in Utah. And you know, that's when we got the really good behind the scenes tour of the distillery and the lab and talking to the scientists and things like that. That's not beer in my hand, that's lavender lemonade from the farm, which is fabulous. This was convention. Some people go to convention, some people don't. It's every year. That's usually when you pay for it yourself, unless you win a little bit of stuff for it, like I did last year. You're going to the farm and you're seeing it yourself. You're connecting with other Young Living people. You're soaking in education. There are tons of educational breakout sessions during convention where you're learning all of the things that people go to school and college for, to learn these things about the effects of aromatherapy on the brain and the effects of aromatherapy essential oils on the gut and all of these huge, amazing topics. They also have speakers who talk about how to share Young Living and things like that too. And it's just a lot of fun. So this is the book I talked about, Game Plan by Sarah Harnish. There's a workbook that goes with it too. Our Faithful Growers team is starting a boot camp in March, and we're going to be walking through it together. We're going to be breaking out into small groups so we can work at each person's own pace, just because it can be pretty intense. And some people really want to take this and fly with it, and some people just really want to take their time with it, and that's okay. That's the freedom of this. So if you want to get in on that, these are the books you want to order from Amazon. We have some people who have a limiting belief that if something's meant to be, it'll just happen. I mean, you won't have to do anything for it. Fortunately, that's not the truth. Those who are faithful with little will be entrusted with more. And so if you have a need in your family or something to help out, you go after it. And I believe you put God first, and he's faithful. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Somebody messaged me today and said, hey, are you offering anything for somebody who enrolls? Well, I will now because you asked, you know, and I'll offer it to you. I love that kind of attitude in life. Ask. And we have a team full of fabulous people who want to help out. And so if you ever have a need for anything, or even if you're like, you know what, somebody just totally rejected me and I can't figure out why, but it's really getting to me. We're there for you. So if you need anything, just let us know. If you don't step forward, you'll always be in the same place. Some of us have to get to that point where we feel like we've been smacked in the face and said, it's time to get over our biases or our fears and just do this. And we try to post a lot of things in Faithful Growers that really help keep you going. So I just really wanted to share the basics of it with you guys, because when you really want to get into the steps and the nitty gritty, these books are going to cover all of that for you. And they really do a fabulous job of it, going into it step by step. Basically, connecting with people, educating people. Classes are very important. There are about 2% of the top Young Living leaders who have never done a class because they share everything online and they haven't had to do a class. But like our leader says, the goal of social media is to lead to that personal connection, that in-person connection with people. And that's just kind of what we want to promote on our team, is really just having that personal connection with people, pulling them in and saying that you don't have to be alone on this journey. And so that's our passion, to be able to get people into our group so that we can help them as a group. We have a lot of knowledgeable people in our group, as some of you know, and so you're never alone on this journey. But it is up to you to take those steps to say, I'm going to share a class. You know, I maybe don't feel like being a teacher. Maybe I feel like I'm not experienced enough to share. But all that's required is that you've got your oils and you've been using them and you love them. And so I have no doubt that each one of you can do that. The things that I've done on my page have actually been a little bit of a disadvantage for me, as far as setting me up to look like the expert when that's not the case. And because people just want to know that they don't have to be an expert to use these oils. How many of you started with them, or maybe didn't start at first because you were like, I don't know what to do with them. And you don't have to know what to do with them to start, because you've got us. We've got a team and we work together. And we'll show you. It's just getting those oils in people's hands so they can start this journey. That's what it's all about. So if there are any specific questions that you guys really want to get into on this, you can speak up at any time. Just interrupt me because I'm just talking away. And if you guys don't want to speak up because I'm recording, I'm actually going to stop the recording. Let me just figure that out. Okay, let me figure out how to do that. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that is going to be the end of this class for the recording. So recording. Okay.